Welcome, everyone, to the third installment of Evart Unleash. I am this episode's host, Aubrey Brown, and today I'm here with one of Evert's staff members, Mr. Boer. Thank you for coming on to the show.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, so how are you doing?
I'm doing well. How about yourself?
I'm doing great. So, the first thing I want to start off with is who was the most influential coach in your life, and what lessons did you take from them and implement into your own coaching style?
I think I've had the benefit of being around a lot of great coaches, both as an athlete here at Everett and then in my journey beyond as a basketball coach. The two that really come to mind are the two that I've worked with as they were the head coaches and I was an assistant under them, and Lance Maney and Caleb House over at Mid-Michigan College. And I think the biggest lessons that I've tried to take with me involve just how they managed when to go harder and when to challenge the kids more, as well as when to maybe dial it back and take it easy. Just knowing when either style fits best and understanding the player dynamics, as well as managing your own personal workload as a coach so that you don't get burned out. And I've tried to emulate how they go about their business now that I'm here back in Everett.
Nice. So you were a former student here, correct?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
So how does that affect you now that you're coming back as a coach and a substitute teacher?
It's been an interesting dynamic, just not only trying to learn the ropes of, day-to-day operations as a teacher and managing different things with, students and things like that, but also being an Everett native and being the fact that it's a small town. There's a lot of people that I know who, maybe I played sports with their older brother, or I went to school with a relative of theirs. Like, it's just all different things like that. And it's kind of a new dynamic for me to be back in the school in this role. Whereas, maybe they only know me in the past from seeing me at a game that I came back to over the last handful of years since I've been out of school, whether it was in college or coaching in Mount Pleasant. So it's been a fun little dynamic, and I've leaned a lot on the people who have classrooms around me. But for the most part, I'd say it's been pretty fun.
Is that kind of like weird for you, though, coming back with like teaching with teachers that used to teach you?
Kind of. It helps that they're all good people and that they're willing to teach me the ropes and help me out and things like that. And I would like to say that they have fond memories of me as a student. I don't know. I have selective amnesia, so the tough parts of my high school journey I don't really remember. But I like to think I was a good student, and they have good memories of having me in class, so it's been pretty fun.
Yeah. So now that the basketball season has ended, what are you most proud about your team this year?
Just the way we came together and how our dynamic grew over the course of the season. It wasn't always perfect, and it never really is when the season's as long as it is. But I thought for the better part of the last month, we really came together as a team. You could see our underclassmen really giving it everything they've got for our seniors, knowing that whenever our season did end, it was going to be the last time they played basketball here at Everett. So it was really important for us to create that buy-in for our upperclassmen, our senior guys. And towards the end of the year, you saw really everybody just laying it on the line for those guys. And it was a lot of fun to watch our team that was really young come together and grow like that. And we had a lot of great moments at the end of the year.
Yeah, so what were some of the biggest challenges that you faced, and how did you overcome them?
I think for the most part, we were really an overall young team. Last year's group was really, really solid, but they graduated a lot of talent. And so now this year it was about finding who's going to step up into those roles that were vacated by all the talented seniors that graduated as part of last year's team. And I thought we've got a lot of production from, our underclassmen, our sophomores, and our freshmen coming up and giving us really good minutes, as well as some of our senior guys who stepped into roles that were new for them and really made the most of their opportunities. It was a lot of fun to watch our guys grow, not just as individuals, but when they get more opportunities in basketball to go out there and give it everything they've got.
Did any of your kids stand out to you? Or?
Yeah, I think it really was, like I mentioned, a lot of our guys really bought into playing for our seniors towards the end of the year, and all 5 of those guys played huge roles for us as far as showing up every day in practice, setting the tone for what we want our team's identity and our team's culture to be. All 5 of those guys were so bought in on that. And then our underclassmen as well, we had 2 juniors, Aaron Vanaschi and Cade Morgan, who had really big moments this year. With Cade on Snow Coming, when he went on that 7-0 run, that was a ton of fun. Obviously, Jet Reedy hit his 100th career three-pointer as a sophomore, which is an incredible achievement. Knox and Morgan, Willie Ray, that whole group of sophomores and juniors really were good. But I think it all starts and ends with our seniors: Aiden, K-Max, Ethan, Anthony, and Cody. Those guys were unbelievable for us, and for a first-year coach, that's a great group of seniors.
Yeah. So how do you balance being a coach and a teacher at the same time?
It kind of goes back to just leaning on the people around me. It's really convenient to have Coach Jay right next door to me with his classroom. I played for Coach Jay in baseball when I was in school. Been fortunate enough to build a pretty good relationship with him over the years. And anytime I have a question or anytime I need to ask him, like, hey, we have a game tonight, what do you normally do on game days as far as like grading things or just going about your day-to-day business when all you can think about is the basketball game? How do you refocus? And Mr. J's been an excellent resource for me. So really just leaning on the people around me.
Yeah. So how do you adjust your communication style to fit the different personalities on your team?
Yeah. I think a lot of people who know me know that I'm pretty intense. Sometimes
really?
I can
really?
I can talk really loud and things like that. But I think it goes back to, I had several conversations with Coach Alice and Coach Lance just about how they handle different things. And, this is a situation I'm facing. How would you handle it? And sometimes they would tell me that, hey, the best thing you can do is dial it back, or, maybe you're letting them get away with too much and you're cutting them too much slack. So just relying on the people around me and relying on my experience to know that not everybody learns the same way. Not everybody responds to the same type of coaching. And so really understanding the personalities on our team and knowing what fits them the best.
Yeah. I would have never guessed that you were like intense from being a teacher, because I only know you as a teacher. So, yeah. Anyway, how do you build team culture and camaraderie on and off the court?
I think it starts with setting goals and having the athletes set their goals so that they're all chasing the same thing. And for us this year, it was about being as competitive as we can be and playing for as long as we can into March, because everybody makes the tournament and you can go on a run in the tournament. I think our girls team's a great example of that. They had an awesome regular season, and then now they play McBain, who got them twice in the regular season, but our girls found a way to win that game in the district championship, and now same thing with Beaverton on Monday. So it's all about just being in a position to make a run in the tournament. And that was kind of our goal. And unfortunately, we weren't able to go as far as we wanted to. But you could see the buy-in and the guys playing hard and playing like there was no tomorrow and not wanting to go home. And unfortunately, we just didn't make enough plays in that Beaverton game. But I think, moving forward, we're going to have high expectations for ourselves. And hopefully we're able to make some things happen next year.
Yeah. So you're coaching multiple sports this year, right? So how does coaching basketball compare to coaching football? And is there either one that's like more challenging to you, or?
I think that it's hard to say one's more challenging than the other just because you put a lot of time into both. Football is a little bit different in that you have a whole week to prepare for one team, whereas in basketball you have, if you're lucky, 2 or 3 days to prepare for a team that you're going to play against. I know with cancellations and snow days and things like that, we played a couple of back-to-backs this year where your practice on Wednesday is getting you ready for your game on Thursday and on Friday. So that's definitely a challenge. Obviously the extended preparation time would lead me to say that maybe basketball is a little bit more challenging, but also in football, you got to get 11 guys ready to play on every play, whereas in basketball, it's 5 players. So they both have their own challenges. But I think with being the head coach in basketball, there's just a little bit more that comes with that for me personally. So I would be more inclined to say basketball.
More inclined to say basketball?
Yeah.
Okay. So this is a more fun question here. What is your favorite pregame meal or tradition?
Yeah. So I have a couple, actually. As far as pregame meal goes, I love to go to, again, no free ads, but Pompeii's has the Parmesan barbecue chicken Parmesan. That's become a pregame staple of mine. And then as for like traditions, I'm very superstitious. I try not to talk about that a whole lot. That's one of my superstitions. But I do think that so before every game, the last practice before every game, we shoot half-court shots as a team. And then I have 2 pairs of blue and gold socks, and I'll wear one every game until we lose. And then when we lose with that pair of socks, then I go to the other ones. That's not to say I don't wash them. Obviously, I wash these socks after every game, but I wear the same pair of socks every game until we lose, and I switch them out. And then hopefully, they go through the washing machine a couple times. It takes the bad luck out of them, and then I can switch back. That's just kind of a different superstition that I have.
Yeah. So, looking back on your coaching career so far, what is your proudest moment?
I think there's been a lot of great moments that I've been able to be a part of. Obviously, at Mid-Michigan College, with the women's team making the national tournament twice, with the men's team last year winning the conference. Just different things where you get to celebrate it with everybody. And it's not just, obviously individual accomplishments are great, but they mean so much more when it's everybody together. And I think for this year's team, my first year as a head coach, we had a couple of really fun wins. We ended the season before our Beaverton loss on a 4-game win streak. And I think just watching our guys come together for that duration of those games, because things got tough with those games. I mean, obviously we had senior night at home, but then we had 3 straight away from home. We went on the road to NMC, on the road to Houghton Lake, and then a neutral site game against St. Louis. And watching our guys play in different environments and have to deal with different challenges throughout the course of a game and come out on the winning end was a lot of fun. And it just makes me so much more excited for next year.
So, last question. What advice would you give to students who hope to play sports or even coach one day?
Yeah, I think there's a couple of different things that worked for me, and not everybody's the same. But from my personal perspective, I think if you're looking to get into coaching, one important thing is to say yes to everything. And you're not going to be the person making all the decisions right away, unless it's a special circumstance. But I think that making yourself resourceful and making yourself somebody that the people around you can depend on is super important. So that would be the biggest thing I would say for somebody with coaching. And as far as getting into sports, just don't be afraid to mess up. Don't be afraid to fail the first time. Nobody's perfect at everything the first time they do something. So just go in there and give it everything you got. And if it's not perfect right away, that's why you're at practice, is to learn. And there's a lot of different things you can do to improve. So it's never going to be easy right away, but just give it everything you got. And don't be afraid to mess up a couple times.
Yeah. Great advice. I love that. Anyway, thank you for coming to the show.
Thank you for having me. This is awesome.
Yeah. And thank you all for watching. Come back next week for a new episode of Evart Unleashed. Okay. Yeah.
Awesome.
No, I love that.
Evart Unleashed. Let the halls explode with dreams, from the classroom to the team.